Praise be Jesus Christ, now and forever. Our interesting readings this week are also challenging and perhaps a bit difficult. I want to begin with the very first reading where God is calling Ezekiel to be a watchman. As I was thinking about that term, watchman, I was thinking about how many decades ago companies, warehouses, corporations often would hire night watchmen to protect, to defend, to take care of their property and possessions, to make sure that they were in some way or another kept from thievery or protected from some kind of fire or damage. But what God is talking about with Ezekiel is something, of course now today we have all modern technology, it's all done electronically, we really don't have watchmen. But God's talking to Ezekiel about being a watchman of a different kind. He's not talking about things of this world, not property, buildings, possessions. He's talking about the soul of an individual, the soul of a brother or sister. To be a watchman that looks after and takes care of the spiritual well-being of another. To be a watchman who announces or shares or helps those who perhaps are wandering or have fallen or who have gone astray to find their way back to God. And God's saying, I will hold you responsible to do that. Now, move up about 500 or 600 years to the gospel passage, and Jesus is speaking to us about a process. And we all know this process. We've heard this over and over again. But one of the things I want to point out is this part of the gospel follows immediately upon Jesus speaking about the Good Shepherd. The Good Shepherd who leaves the 99 to go looking for the one lost sheep, to bring that sheep back to the fold. So Jesus is giving us this process. If someone sins against you, now we're not talking about just irks you in some way, we're talking about sin, something that's morally going to harm that individual for eternity. He says, go and talk to that person. Keep it between yourself. And if that works, praise God. If it doesn't, he says, let it be 2 or 3 others who can come with you who are well respected, people of faith and of prayer, people of integrity who could help to kind of make the case. That doesn't work, bring it to the church. Now we're talking about the 1st century AD, not the 21st century. We're not talking about the worldwide church of 1 billion people, and we're certainly not talking about social media. We're talking about that intimate group of disciples who are faith-filled, who have integrity, who are able to help one another to come closer to God and to look for ways to be open to God. And of course, the final thing sounds very harsh indeed. Cut them off. Treat them as you would a Gentile or a tax collector. Now, Monday night I was on the phone, the Zoom call, with a whole group of people from Christ-like. And the question came up about this portion. I said, that's all about medicinal. That's meant to be a wake-up call. That's meant to help the person realize this is really serious. It's not meant to shun the person as much as it is to be medicinal to help the person kind of get back on the right track. But during the week, I heard Bishop Barron and another commentator speak about this particular passage, and there's one more part to that, and that is we're to treat the person as a tax collector or a Gentile in the same way that Jesus treated those persons in his public ministry. He went searching after them as he came searching for each and every one of us. He went to their tables and had dinner with them. He welcomed them into his inner circle. Jesus never gave up, and that's what he's telling us. In the context of the Good Shepherd who went out looking for that lost sheep, we are to treat one another in the same way. We are to be watchmen for each other. We are to be helpers to one another in coming closer to God and growing in all of the virtues, to stay perseveringly on the road of faith throughout this very broken and fragile world in which we live, and the struggles that we have to become all that God has created us to be. St. Paul tells us, love of neighbor fulfills the law because it never harms the neighbor. Let us indeed love God with everything we have, and love our neighbor as ourselves.